talk a lot about trying to drive self-improvement, self-reflection, try and get better as a person. And one of the ways in which you do that is you're honest with yourself, right? There's inconvenient truths we all have about ourselves that you need to face and you need to be honest about. And if you want to try and get better at them or improve, that's step one, right? Cliched. First, admit you have a problem. And I find that a particularly good way to do that, one of the things I've tried to do of late, is to try and identify these areas, because the really good ones, the really juicy ones where you can really get a lot of bang for your buck and get good self-improvement, are the areas where you lie to yourself. Those areas where you tell yourself you don't have a problem there. You tell yourself, really even more so, I'm really good at this. This is one of my strong suits. This is one of the things that makes me special or unique or whatever it might be. But it's bullshit, right? It's something you aspire to be. It's something you wish were true, but it's not actually true. And at least for me, you'd be surprised how many things you put in that classification where you say you're good at it, you say it's a strong suit, but it's really not. And it makes me think, I reference him sometimes, David Goggins, he's talked about before this idea that your mind has a tactical advantage over you. And I think this is an instance of that where the truth is your mind knows, right? Deep down, I know I'm not good at that thing. I know this isn't my strong suit. I know this isn't something I should check off as, hey, I'm great at that. My mind knows that. But it lies to me for whatever reason, right? Because it's more comfortable, because it's easier, because it protects my identity, because I don't want to do the work to fix it. Whatever reason, there's some comfort that comes with my mind lying to me about it. But it's important that I find those things, right? A, to fix them, but B, because it's a great way to exercise kind of the mental toughness muscle of being honest with yourself and identifying these inconvenient truths. Problem is they're not easy to find. They can be difficult because likely, for me at least, I've lied to myself about this for a long time, so they're not just easy to just see and spot. And your mind, again, will protect you against them. It's going to avoid them. So the way I try and find them of late, what I've tried to do is to start to make a list of the things that I think I'm really good at. Let me make a list of the characteristics, the traits, that I think I'm strong at, the things that I value, the skills that I think are really important, that I think I hold. And as you make that list, there will certainly be some things on there that are legitimate, right? Certain things that you are actually good at. But without a doubt, sprinkled within that list will be some of these things that do not belong on that list. They should not be there. And those are the ones that you want to try and identify and sink your teeth into. And just, a couple quick examples for me just to illustrate it. One I may have touched on before. Historically, I've liked to tell myself that I am really good under pressure, right? When things get tense, when things get stressful, I want to believe that I handle that really well. I can play it cool. I can make sure I get things done and I make the right decisions and I don't get flustered. And I do a really good job at that. The reality is that is not true. I tend to be, or historically been, a very emotional person. I have a bad temper. I like to control everything, so when things don't go the right way, I can lose it. And I don't handle the pressure well. I don't always make good decisions. I can't always control myself in those moments. So it's just not true. But even as I say it right now, I feel in my body it's uncomfortable for me to admit that. Because in some ways it's tied to my identity, or it's just an inconvenient truth that I've lied to myself about for so long. And for whatever reason, it's important to me that I believe the opposite. So it just kind of illustrates that point as you start to probe and explore and be objective in how you assess this. Your body, your mind does not want to do that. And you'll feel uncomfortable, which will be all the more reason what I would typically do in those situations is I would make excuses. I would justify, I would explain and say, well, no, I didn't handle that situation right, but here's why. It was an exception, right? I feel it now. Even now, as I say it, I don't want to admit it. It doesn't feel right, but it's the truth, and you have to identify that. I'll give you one other one. As a parent, I like to think I'm a pretty good parent. I'm an active, engaged parent. I care about my family and my son. But one of the things that I realize is when it comes to like staring at my phone and using my phone for work or pleasure or whatever, I'd like to believe that I'm not the type of parent that while I'm, spending time with my kid, I'm looking at my phone. Maybe at the dinner table or we're outside playing or whatever. That's not me, right? I'm active, I'm engaged, I'm present. But as I really step back and look at it, I start to realize like, hey, I probably do that more than I care to admit. There are times when I am looking at my phone and my son will say to me, hey, why are you still doing that, right? And same thing, right? Inconvenient truth. I don't want to believe that about myself. I'm not one of those parents. that just looks at his phone and cares more about being away from his kid than being with his kid, right? I love my son. I love being a parent. I love all that stuff. But the words don't matter. It's the actions that tell the truth. And as I start to assess the actions, I start to realize, well, maybe there is some truth to that. Again, uncomfortable. Don't want to believe it. Want to make the excuses. Hey, I have a lot of work to do, and I do work on my phone, so it's just work quick, or it's just a quick text, or I just had to look something up quickly. All the things, all the excuses, all the justifications that I want to believe. And if I want to, they're there. I can tell myself that, but I know it's bullshit. I know it's not true. And if I actually care about being a good parent, if I actually care about improving upon that, I need to have the mental toughness to be honest with myself and say, you know what? That actually is something that I need to improve upon. That is something where I'd like to believe I'm better at it than I really am. So let me actually get better at it. So I think, again, just a couple of examples, but that ability to identify those areas where you've been lying to yourself for a long time, you really want to believe this is something you got covered and you're good at. If you can find those nuggets and really probe on them and explore them, it's going to be hard, but there's a lot to be gained from that.